Changes could be coming to superspeedway racing in the NASCAR Cup Series, and should Christian Eckes be suspended for his actions at Bristol on Friday night? How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Talkin NASCAR. I'm your host, Andrew. We are very, very close to the green flag getting underway at Bristol Motor Speedway later this afternoon. I'm recording this about, I would say, maybe like 10 minutes before the green flag drops from Bristol, Tennessee in the last great Coliseum. Alex Bowman will be making his return to the number 48 car this weekend for Hendrick Motorsports after dealing with vertigo symptoms this past couple of weeks. Be his first race in Circuit of the Americas. So Bowman back after the off week and after a couple weeks away. So it'll be great to see him back behind the wheel. The first week back for the Cup Series after their one and only off week during the 2026 season. So make sure after you listen to this episode, you tune back in a little bit later today for my Bristol race review and recap episode on this show. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But for right now, I do have some news to catch up on from this past week that I do have to cover on the show. Starting out with some news about Cletus McFarland after making his NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series debut last weekend at Rockingham Speedway in the number 33 car for Richard Childress Racing. He has been denied entry into the upcoming Talladega race at Talladega Superspeedway in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, so he will not be allowed to compete. He has not been granted approval to race in that number 33 car I believe next weekend is Talladega, so unfortunate to hear if you're a Cletus McFarland fan. I'm kind of sad to hear, but I understand the reasoning why NASCAR is choosing to not grant approval to uh, Cletus McFarland. I mean, Cletus McFarland, he's done a lot of work to have this opportunity in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and I think that he is definitely a, you know, deserving guy to possibly get behind a wheel of a NASCAR stock car, whether that be in ARCA or in the Truck Series. But we've seen Cletus now in what, maybe 7, almost 10 starts in any of NASCAR's national series, including the ARCA Menard series, and they haven't been stellar. I mean, in ARCA, like, he was able to keep it clean for a good portion. Like, he started out kind of rough. His first couple starts weren't that great, but he eventually started to find his footing, driving for Rhett Jones Racing in the 30 Ford. And then he got his first Truck Series start at Daytona earlier this year, and he spun out coming off turn 4 on lap 1, ending his day pretty early. So, I mean, that's clearly some precedent there. I mean, we've seen Cletus on superspeedway so far, and Talladega's a much wider superspeedway, a little bit higher speeds than Daytona, not as close quarters, but it's still a superspeedway, a lot faster speeds for Cletus, and we saw him spin out at Daytona earlier in the year. And then we just saw him at Rockingham in that number 33 Chevrolet for RCR, and it wasn't a bad race. I will say this, Cletus did not have, the worst race he could have had. We've seen worse races out of drivers like him entering that series for the first time. Look at Catherine Legg from last season, both in the Cup Series and the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. It just looked like Cletus wasn't ready. It really didn't. I mean, he spun out a lot, but he didn't cause any major issues beyond that. He just was self-spinning, didn't really catch anybody else up in his mess. He just kind of spun on his own. So I will say that, Cletus McFarland, he just needs to get more experience in maybe ARCA cars, a little bit shorter tracks. Maybe in the O'Reilly series, he can run some short tracks too. Same with the Truck series, but right now, super speedways and even the bigger tracks like mile and a half, maybe even Rockingham to that extent, maybe he's not quite ready for that, which is fine. It totally is. And I think Cletus may be just trying to getting a little bit too ahead of himself when it comes to this rapid expansion of his world into NASCAR, which I'm all for his ambition to climb the ranks really quickly, but he's clearly just not ready. So I would like to see Cletus McFarland still out on the racetrack, but going forward, it would probably be beneficial if he were to race more primarily on the short tracks like Martinsville's, like Bristol's, maybe possibly like Richmond's. I think he's maybe got a little bit of experience there. I know he has experience at Bristol from past events. So I would like to see that from Cletus. Then you can eventually work your way up to the Rockinghams. Maybe you can work up to some road courses. Then you get up to the mile and a halves, and then eventually you can get up to the big super speedway racetrack. So it's unfortunate to hear, but hopefully Cletus will get some more starts in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series moving forward, more at short tracks probably. So we'll see what Cletus chooses to do going forward. Moving on over to some Truck Series news, Corey LaJoie, who was just announced this past week as the new full-time driver of the number 10 truck for Calling Racing in the Craftsman Truck Series, he has been granted a chase waiver by NASCAR. He will now be chase eligible come at the end of the season. Corey LaJoie obviously stepping into that truck full-time to replace Daniel Dye. Had a pretty good run on Friday at Bristol. He's shown good speed in the Truck Series over the course of his career, but very consistent. We'll see how Corey LaJoie does. He does have a little bit of an uphill battle if he does want to make the chase in the Truck Series, but on the pace he's going right now, he's making good progress. So we'll see how Corey LaJoie can do going forward throughout the rest of the season. And then sticking with Calling and their Truck Series program, they just announced that Parker Kligerman will be the driver of their number 25 truck in their next start. I believe it's at Talladega. Apologies, it is at Texas Motor Speedway, so not Talladega. It's going to be on the 1st of May when the Truck Series will be racing at Texas Motor Speedway. So, regardless of that, I think it's a good move by Calling, getting Parker Kligerman to drive one of their trucks. I like Parker a lot. I think he's a very smooth and consistent driver. We've seen it over the course of his career in both the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and the Craftsman Truck Series. I think he can do a lot possibly with this Calling Racing team. My only gripe with this is that I wonder how much this is really accomplishing with Calling Racing's Ram free agent truck program. Like, I don't know how wide they wanted to extend their reach when it comes to bringing in newer guys into the sport to drive their trucks. But, you know, I'm not going to complain about getting a NASCAR veteran behind the wheel of the number 25 truck going forward. So we'll see how Parker does coming up next month at the Texas Motor Speedway in the Calling number 25 truck. Moving on over to the NASCAR Cup Series side of things, we have an update on the Chris Gabehart versus JGR lawsuit. A federal judge has just announced the trial date for the trial for this case. It will be November 16th this coming year in 2026. So it will be after the current NASCAR Cup Series of 2026. And there have been some more filings made in recent weeks about possible evidence. Joe Gibbs Racing has submitted some evidence, like deleted text messages in the discovery phase that they have uncovered from Chris Gabehart, and also from Spire Motorsports personnel as well. So I don't have entirely access to those text messages as well. I just got information though that some text messages between Chris Gabehart and Spire Motorsports personnel were discovered and uncovered in the discovery stage that Joe Gibbs Racing has been in for a little while, and that they have also set a date for the trial. So we'll see how this goes. It is anticipated that the trial will go 5 days, hopefully, but the federal judge presiding this case has delayed the ruling for now. So we'll see when it comes to that. We'll see what other information may come out. Maybe this case will get settled, but we still have a little bit of time before the actual trial date. But right now, we don't have much more than that. This case has been moving a little bit slow, in my opinion, at least. Not much evidence has come out. It's just kind of been spinning in the discovery stage for right now. I think the first piece of evidence that we actually did get were these text messages between Chris Gabehart and Spire Motorsports. So we'll see what other evidence comes out as we inch closer slowly to that November 16th trial date for Chris Gabehart and Joe Gibbs Racing. Moving on, according to NASCAR.com, the stages in the upcoming race at Talladega Superspeedway for the NASCAR Cup Series will be shortened stages to hopefully combat fuel-saving strategies going forward. So likely the first stage will be closer to 100 laps, and the last two stages will be under 50 laps. Now, I have a couple thoughts on this. First off, I like what NASCAR's doing. Like I like where their head is at with this idea. Shortening the stages will hopefully help the fuel strategy and all those different strategies going forward at super speedways, which has really hindered the racing at super speedways with the next gen car. It's almost like they've gotten too good at fuel saving, and it just ruins the racing overall, and it doesn't really get better until like 10 laps to go when everyone's fighting for it. So I like where their head's at, but I think the way this could be so easily, avoided is possibly just getting rid of stage racing altogether, like racing to the break. I feel like is kind of stupid, at least at super speedways and mostly maybe at all racetracks going forward. Like an easy way to get to like solve this issue could be getting rid of stage racing. Now, I don't know for sure how much that would do and how much that would change things, but I think it definitely could be worth a shot. And I've seen other people online in the NASCAR community say we should just get rid of stage racing. And when I've thought about it, the logic makes a little bit of sense. Like you won't have drivers specifically on super speedways racing to the end of the stage. Like they'll be saving enough fuel so that they won't have to, you know, wait as long on pit road to refuel and get back in the race. Without just having stages, they don't have to worry about that. They can just go all out full throttle and it doesn't really matter in that case. Like you could maybe be saving up possibly for the end of this race, but with how unpredictable super speedway racing is nowadays, you have no idea when a caution may come, so you're really just, going full throttle all the time and just trying to, get as much track position as you can so you can possibly avoid that big wreck and you're not in the back of the pack. But let me know down in the comments what you think about this change coming to super speedways. Hopefully it works, and hopefully this is maybe something they'll implement moving forward if they're not going to possibly just remove stage racing all entirely like that. So we'll see how that works out, but let me know down in the comments what you think. And another big change that NASCAR is bringing back to super speedways is preseason thunder will be returning next year in 2027. It's NASCAR's annual test session at Daytona before the season gets underway for all the teams to get back out on track and test out their cars. And for NASCAR, this will be something that they can a test they will be able to use to possibly make changes technically to the cars that could maybe uh, lessen the impact of super speedway fuel saving strategy moving forward. So another good change that NASCAR is looking to address with the super speedway racing and how kind of atrocious it's been over the last couple of years. So all these changes I'm in favor of, but I think a lot more can be done. So hopefully we'll see how these changes work going forward and more could be on the horizon. And to wrap up this episode, we have to talk about something that went down in the Craftsman Truck Series race from Bristol Motor Speedway on Friday. All right, so let's talk about it, starting with Christian Eckes. Christian Eckes ran a very good race in the number 91 for McAnally Hilgeman Racing. His first season back with the team in the Craftsman Truck Series after being up in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series with Calling Racing last season. So now he's back with the team to possibly go and chase a championship. And Christian Eckes is having a very good season. He's been running up front a good amount of the time, maybe getting a little bit unlucky at times with getting caught up in wrecks. So it's been unfortunate for Christian Eckes, but coming into this season, I thought Christian Eckes would be a constant race-winning threat, and I thought he would be like the Corey Heim from last season, where he would be always up front, always contending for wins, and we quite haven't seen that yet, but we've seen the speed out of Christian Eckes, and we saw it in Bristol on Friday night. However, as we got later in the race, Corey Heim, who ironically was in the number one truck for Tricon Garage, making a part-time start, having a phenomenal season in his limited action, winning 2 races and already tied for first place in the series with his teammate of Caden Honeycutt. So right now, Heim was battling with Christian Eckes, and Eckes gives Christian Eckes a little bit of a bump into a turn, knocks Eckes out of the way, and Corey Heim's able to move on and go on to take the lead after passing a few more cars. We get a caution, I believe, for it was Andres Perez spinning out off turn 4. Reset the field. We got back racing, and Corey Heim was back behind Christian Eckes, and we got back racing. Corey Heim once again gave a little bit of a bump to Christian Eckes, knock him out of the way, got him out of the groove, and Corey Heim was able to work forward and pass Christian Eckes. But however, coming down the front straightaway, Christian Eckes, after getting passed by Corey Heim, looked like he kind of pulled down into Corey Heim and wrecked Corey Heim up into the outside wall, bringing out another caution and effectively ending Corey Heim's race. And it did not look pretty at all. I mean, the broadcast on FS1 was saying maybe Eckes came down, maybe Heim was coming up a little bit after passing Christian Eckes. Both were maybe trying to get in line on the bottom. but to me, it looked pretty obvious that Christian Eckes right rear hooked Corey Heim. Now, I don't know the intentions necessarily, but the press, like the everything that had happened before this incident between Eckes and Heim, it gave Christian Eckes all like the elements to say like, hey, I've been bumped twice by this guy. I'm ready just to knock him out of the way. I'm done being knocked out of the way by this guy. So I don't know, but this definitely looked pretty intentional to me. Uh, it's not a good look for Christian Eckes regardless. A guy that's not having, the season that he probably wanted to go, but he was up front pretty much all day in that race at Bristol. Corey Heim started in a little bit deeper in the field, but worked his way forward, was having a really good race, and then Corey Heim knocks Christian Eckes out of the way to pass for the lead, or to make a pass twice. And now you have Christian Eckes coming down the front straightaway, just right rear hooking potentially Corey Heim into the outside wall, ending his race. So I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I'm going to assume that it was, and I don't think there's any way really around it. So what could be happening moving forward for Christian Eckes? Well, NASCAR has not announced a penalty yet. They could still penalize Christian Eckes come Monday when the penalty report comes out, their weekly penalty report. So that's still a thing that could happen. But a suspension could be on the table, possibly a fine, a point docking penalty. Who knows what could be on the table for Christian Eckes? But to me, what's already been established with these type of incidents is that a suspension is very much on the table for Christian Eckes. But being that this was at a short track, a very wide short track, I'll give him that. I think that this does not warrant a suspension. This was not nearly as vicious of a right rear hook as it usually is, in my opinion at least. I think that Christian Eckes should get a point stocking penalty and a fine for intentionally right rear hooking Corey Heim. Because I think at this point, Christian Eckes, he should be mature enough to not to know that he can't do that, but still he does do that. He's been in the truck series for a good amount of time. He even raced in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, and he still shouldn't. He should know that he can't do that. So that's what I think, in my opinion, should happen. I'd be surprised if a that right rear hook warranted a suspension, but I could still see it happening, and it's because of what happened to Austin Cindric at Circuit of the Americas last season. He coming off of the final turn down the front straightaway, right rear hook Ty Dillon into the outside retaining wall, and prior to that, we've seen guys like Chase Elliott hook Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace hook Kyle Larson. Later that year, we saw Austin Hill hook Eric Almirola, and Hill was docked a very severe points penalty. I think he was even suspended for a race, if I remember correctly. So there had been precedent for that in the past. However, Circuit of the Americas in Bristol are not nearly as high speed tracks as Bristol and Circuit of the Americas are, like, or excuse me, as Indianapolis and Kansas and Las Vegas are. So in my opinion, like, that's why Christian Eckes right rear hooking Corey Heim at Bristol does not warrant a suspension, because it's not a high speed track. It's a very fast short track, close quarters, but it's not as fast as like Las Vegas or even maybe possibly Indianapolis. I mean, Indianapolis is crazy fast. So that's just my opinion. You guys are gonna have to let me know down in the comments. I don't think Christian Eckes really should be suspended, but I do think a points penalty and a possible fine are definitely warranted for Christian Eckes moving forward. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Should NASCAR do to take action to possibly penalize and possibly punish Christian Eckes moving forward after that atrocious behavior at Bristol Motor Speedway. But I say atrocious. We've seen a lot worse in years past. So, yeah, let me know down in the comments. That's going to do it for this episode, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you leave a like if you're listening on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel as well. If you're listening on any other podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, make sure you follow the show so you never miss another episode. And share it too. Share it with your friends, your family. And if you are, just getting into NASCAR, you can let me know down in the comments, and we can, welcome you to the community. It's so great to bring in new fans to the NASCAR community. And if you're an old fan too, glad you're still sticking around with me and choosing to listen to me out of everyone in the NASCAR community to get your NASCAR coverage. So thank you all for listening, and thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode very, very soon of Talkin' NASCAR. See you later, everyone.